The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the pit complete. That is crazy
As I
stuff.
said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Welcome to Sebring International Raceway, home of the gathering of tweakers, Sebring 185, and you're watching it live on the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm your host, Joe Peak. With me at the booth today are Richard Losper and Brian Corwin. Behind the scenes is our director, Giancarlo Lindsay, ready to bring you all the action on track. Sebring is an American tradition when it comes to sports car racing, but to tell us a little bit more about this track, let's go to Richard.
Thank you, Joe, and welcome, viewers. Happy to be here. We've got ourselves a great race coming up here, I feel, on this very, very classic American track. Sebring International, it's called. So they are going to be running on a 5.955 kilometer track. That's 3.7 miles in the old language. 17 turns. It's all at nighttime, so it's going to be fantastic. 50 laps around this track. There are some really, really classic corners on this track. The most known one possibly in the world is the famous Sunset Bend. So we are going to be looking to see guys do some great moves through that turn, because you can get about 50 different ways of negotiating that particular turn, Joe. So I'm looking forward to a great race here on a great track, and let's see how it develops.
Absolutely, and even though this is a one-off race, they are still competing for points here because they are on teams. And for how that goes, we have three classes on track: GT3, GTC, and GT1. At the GT3 level, we have the roof C-Spec. Then at GTC level, we have the roof track. And then at the GT1 level, we have the Corvette. And I'm sorry, I think I actually had those reversed on the roofs. GTC is the C-Spec, so excuse me on that. So obviously, each team has one in each car, and then the total is added up, and that is how the points are decided. The team with the most points at the end of these 50 laps is going to win. However, it's not as simple as that. There is also penalty points, and those are for incidents. For those not used to driving on iRacing, the drivers get what are called incident points when they have off tracks or when they run into walls or run into other cars, things like that when they spin. And if they have less than 6 incident points, there's going to be no penalty points for that driver. If it's 6 to 10, it's going to be minus 2 points for them. 11 to 15 is minus 4. 16 to 20 is minus 8. 21 to 25 is minus 14. And then if they amass more than 25 incident points in these 50 laps, they are going to be subtracted 20 points. So these guys have to worry about, keeping it clean as well as fast. And if you are interested in following all of this and keeping track of who is in what position, even though we will keep you up to date, you can follow on the live timing at livetiming.nickthyssen.nl. And go and check out the website. Nick has put together a wonderful app to keep you up to date with the points as they are live in real time. And if you're curious about that, the link is actually at the bottom of the screen. There is also color coding. We realize that the roof track and the roof C-Spec look exactly alike on screen. If you're looking at them, the GTC cars, again, are going to have pink on the license plate area and on the front splitter, as well as on the rear view mirrors on the sides and the rear wing on the sides of the rear wing. And then if you're looking for the GT3, those are going to be blue. Also, the rocker panels will have the color coordinated little splotches of colors. You can see right now Danny Ritz has the blue on his roof, so he is obviously part of the GT3 class. So with that said, and as we watch these guys put their qualifying in, they're going to have 4 laps solo to themselves out on the track. We're going to give you an onboard and see what it's like around here in the Corvette. And I believe Stefan Overgaard is going to take us around for that. All right, Stefan Overgaard is behind the wheel of the GSRC Corvette, so let's do a lap around Sebring at night. Coming down the front stretch, you've got some lights here, but not for long. And if you thought Turn 1's bumps were terrifying during the day, try it with all the Vette's horsepower and awful visibility. Don't be too surprised to see a number of guys go wide into the dirt at the exit. From here, Turn 3 comes up quick. It's a 90-degree left-hander, but the curb on the inside is very tall, so don't hit it too hard. Now we're right into 4 and 5. Very late apex on 5, and it's a crucial one to nail. And here's why. Now you're cruising around Big Bend. This isn't a turn so much as a long straightaway because you're on the power all the way to the hairpin. And this hairpin is going to be one of your best chances to execute a pass. It's also a good place to blow the corner completely, so make sure and spot your brake marker. You've got this little squiggly coming out of the corner, and then you're going to blast through 8 and 9. These are a couple more flat-out turns that will lead you into Cunningham. Passes are possible in here, but be careful if you come out side by side. The left-hander of Collier is oh so tough to drive too wide, and the barriers are very close. Now we've got the curved braking for Tower. Guys who don't go in too deep and focus on their exits are going to reap way more rewards here. It's a long stretch down to the next braking zone, and the double left-hand kink of Bishop will probably be too scary for most to fight around the outside. Now we're braking for 15. This is just a medium speed set of S's, but make sure and get the car as far left as you can to set up for Le Mans. This is another spot where exit is so much more important than entry. With how it dumps you onto the Ullman straight, you're being drafted and out-accelerated the whole way down if you botch that previous corner. But that's behind us, and now we gotta focus forward on Sunset Bend. One more bumpy as hell corner that really gives this track its unique flavor. The fast guys will find the lines with the least bumps and be able to feather the throttle just right to get that much needed launch toward the start-finish line. And with that approaching, you've now finished a lap around Sebring. You should get a sense from what we're seeing on screen, as well as the lap that you saw on board, just how little visibility there is around most of this track, with pretty much no lights the majority of the way around. Now, Brian, I don't know about you, but I expected the Corvette to really be far and away, the fastest car, and it is obviously. But looking at the timing from what we've seen in practice and as well as in qualifying, it looks like the track and the Corvette are fairly closely matched. So these guys might have a little bit of trouble dealing with each other when the race gets underway.
Yeah, that will be problematic. And one of the stories of the race will actually be how does the Corvette manage the traffic? Now, typically, the Corvette is one of the faster cars on iRacing, and this track has really long straights, but when it comes down to cornering speed and being able to manage the bumps, the cars are pretty comparable. So for the Corvettes, it's going to take a lot of patience, especially here in the dark. Sebring is one of those tracks that have tons of late apexes, so managing your corners and hopefully not getting put into a compromising position is going to be the name of the game today for the Corvettes.
And you mentioned those bumps too, and I know that Richard was talking about that final corner and the number of different lines that you can have through it. And Richard, the bumps on this place really just, it's something these guys are going to have to watch out for, I think, throughout the day.
Absolutely. And specifically coming through Sunset Bend, as you round the final part of the corner, it gets really bumpy. And you want to be tucking in as close to the right-hand wall as possible to get the best exit out of that particular corner. And you will find that that is also the bumpiest part of the track. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these very fast cars manage this very tricky part of the track, because a lot of passes are made coming out of Sunset Bend.
Very much so. And just a quick note as well, there are going to be live marshals for this race. So drivers that they feel are getting out of line and they haven't specified exactly what they're looking for. They're basically just trying to keep drivers from getting a little too rough out there and behaving themselves. So penalties can be handed out. We will be in contact with them throughout the race, and they'll keep us informed on why drivers get a penalty if they get one. Hopefully that won't be the case and everybody races clean and fair today. We've got just 2 minutes left. I think pretty much everybody has got their laps in at this point. So I believe we should be ready to go through the qualifying order if our director is ready for that. All right, let's head through real quick. At the top of the GT1 class, we have Neil Heckens holding the pole. Egil Sandfeld is sitting in second. Quentin Kint is in third. Bob Van Katwijk is in fourth. Dirk Turlings is in fifth. Andre Martins sixth. Stefan Overgaard is sitting in seventh. Jos van Horn is eighth. Michael Mellis is in ninth. Mark Figueres in 10th. Arno Gieben in 11th. Klaus Peterson in 12th. Then 13th, a ways down, is Kenneth Jones in the midst of the times of the other cars. Then finally, Davy Doog bringing up the rest of the Corvettes. What do the GT3 class look like, Brian?
Maxime Ranstein will be starting out for the next class. Paul Ilbrink is in 14th overall, followed by Wim Stockholm. He's going to be in the next row. Bas Slob and Paulo Martins follow. Then Danny Rates. And then we have Pascal Lean. He's going to be following one of the Corvettes that started way towards the back here. Martin Hilligers and Richard Schouderin are next, followed by Bart Bars, Kevin Jensen, and then Remco Mode and Eric Moeller.
And then finally, we have the C-Spec in the GTC class. Richard, what's that look like?
Well, topping out Paul Niehaus, Bert Ekmans or Eichmans, Taman Nabirs, Pascal Tennyson, Joep Jellison, Dennis Garrison, Koen Gerards, Taurus Thielen, Yelena Medvedev, Ruud Milders, Jacob Sundergaard, Richard Cortland, and the last person on track is Robert Witt.
And just another note, there are going to be 2 pit stops for every class in this race. They have limited the fuel in each class according to the length of the race, which, as we said, is about 50 laps. So these guys are going to be at least putting in 2 stops, 2 visits to their pit stall during the course of the race. So pit strategy will come into play. So they are lining up on the grid now, and as you can see with the pace car out there, they're going to do a pace lap at a fairly long lap. It's looking like we've got some time to talk about some of the stories that are going to be watching out for throughout this race, and especially some of the teams that these guys have got to watch out for. Looking at what we've got, it looks like Team IRDK is very much sitting pretty with a car in third, a car in second, and a car in fourth in each class right now, Richard.
Yeah, I'm seeing that as we see the pace car is on the grid at the moment and the cars are lining up behind. Going to be very interesting, bearing in mind that each team has a driver in each of the classes. So it is very much a team effort. It does not mean because you're winning that or you're leading that your team is leading as well. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this all plays out, Joe.
And the thing that goes along with that is you can't just have one big ringer. You've got to have consistency across the board in your team, all solid, consistent drivers. Because you look at who's sitting second in points according to qualifying, and that's Leone Corsa, and they have a car in fourth, a car on the pole. But then they have Joop Gillison sitting in 10th in his class, and the C-Spec in GTC cars. So he's obviously bringing them down just a little bit just at the start. But the start doesn't really matter. It's all where you finish in this class as we see them now starting to take off. And one thing that'll help you out as we see these cars through the dark, even though it's fairly easy to make the Corvette apart from the roof in the light, when you're just looking at headlights, which you might be at certain points throughout the broadcast, you can see the yellowish hue of those Corvettes in that first class as they take off. So if you see yellow headlights, that is the GT1 car. And we have to apologize. It looks like we're having just slight connection issues there. The cars are blinking in and out. And Brian, for those not familiar with online racing, tell them what exactly is going on with that blinking.
Sure, Joe. Well, when we're on the internet, obviously our bandwidth varies depending on all sorts of factors, how many programs you have in the background using up bandwidth, your relative position to the server farm, wherever it may be. I think in this case, it's out in like a Dutch region. So if any drivers are farther away from that server, it might cause a problem with connection. How that relates to iRacing is when your connection drops or you get a bad ping, every once in a while you'll see a car blink. And when the car blinks, it's basically the server not really knowing where the car is in relation to the other cars on the track. And the downside is it can cause problems. Drivers don't know where the car is going to be when it comes back from blinking. And then sometimes you might see a car just completely lose connection and then have to reload the sim. Either way, I guess the one way you could look at it relative to real life racing is that it is like an electronic failure where you have to go back to the pits and sort it all out. But for the most cases, it's harmless. It's just a frustrating thing that happens, and it shouldn't hinder these guys from racing too much today.
Absolutely, and we are getting about halfway through this lap. Hopefully the connection will start to sort itself out. Again, we apologize for some of that. We're going to try and do our best to get all that worked up. In the meantime, we get to see a little bit of silliness with cars kind of blinking and flying around just a bit. However, as they continue on, I want to hear real quick, Richard, who have you got your eye on as far as possibly doing good in each of these classes?
Well, it's hard to go past Team IRDK, and just looking at the drivers that they've got there, they've got drivers who are pretty well up in each of the classes, so that's one to watch. Specifically in the GT3 class, I like the Maxim Ramstein, obviously the fastest qualifier there, but Paul Ilbrink, who is a current, I believe, pro racer, so he has a very, very good chance, I believe. And going down into the GTC class, I like the looks of Jean-Paul Niehaus, who I have had occasion to see out on track in official races. He's very fast, so they are going to feature towards the end of this race, I believe.
And I believe we've got our connection issues sorted out now, and we have to apologize. Unfortunately, due to that, we had to kill our stream on Twitch. If you were watching on there, we apologize. Hopefully you have been able to make it over to YouTube. If not, please come join us, although I'm not sure how you hear me from there. Anyways, regardless, we have the pace car coming around to the start and finish line right now. And Neil Heckens is going to lead them away. Pace car peels off into the pits. We've got the green flag. He accelerates away. It looks like he's got a good jump. Egil Sandfeld has got Quentin Kent on the inside already, and Quentin is looking for that second position.
Yeah, he's going to look down the inside. He might get it because it is a very tight apexing corner going late, and we have a little bit of a bobble. They go 3 wide as we come onto the narrower part of the track. It was a very risky move, but I believe Neil Heckens, if I see right, held on to the lead as he comes into the S's of the early part of this track.
Meanwhile, we've got the roof track, the GT3 class also taking off. What does that start looking like, Richard?
Yeah, it looks like Maxim Ramstein got the jump on Paul Ilbrink when the green light came down, and he's currently leading this class, followed by Paul Ilbrink and Wim Stockman.
Meanwhile, hopping back to the GTC and the C-Spec cars, Blake Townend is currently leading the way. And it looks like he's got Jean-Paul Niehaus holding him in check, with Bert Eichmann's actually losing a position to who is that in front of him in that blue car. It looks like Dennis Garrison has bumped himself up into 4th.
Neil Heckens.
Go ahead, Brian.
Neil Heckens is able to rebound from that kind of nervous start that he had. He has taken a little bit of a lead here. I believe it's Egil Sandfield now is in second place, and everyone's starting to go single file. So we're approaching the back part of the track. It's a very long straight. Neil Heckens just seems to be dominating here after that mistake in the first lap.
Meanwhile, I'm looking at Dirk Turlings, who has Bob Van Katwijk close behind him, and unfortunately he put a wheel off into the dirt, I think, and has now started to drop back. But we are actually looking at the C-Spec cars, I believe, at the moment, with that looks like that blue car, I believe, is Nabur's, who we were talking about earlier. No, I'm sorry, that was Garrison, actually.
Yeah, we have in the GTC class, we have the leader, Blake Townend, who was the fastest qualifier, I believe. He has got Jean-Paul Niehaus very, very close to him. A good battle developing right here, and very interesting in the C-Spec. Jean-Paul Niehaus right on the bumper of Blake Townend. So this is going to be an interesting battle, very early stages of the race at this point in time. But it's going to be interesting to see how that battle develops. The third place in that class is a little way down, as we see some of the Corvettes becoming mixed in. There must have been an accident, guys, because a couple of Corvettes, Mark Figueres and David Doug, are way down in the standings right now.
I was actually kind of wondering if one of them had started from the pits or what, with the way that Doug was so far down. But yeah, Blake Townend very much being kept honest by Niehaus, who is very much hassling as we see Figueres coming out of the pits. Now we're back on Niehaus, right on the bumper of Townend, heading towards that very good passing zone into the hairpin.
Yes, there is a great battle developing here. This is possibly the best battle we're looking at the moment. And this is in the GTC class. Blake Townend, Jean-Paul Niehaus, these two guys pretty much going at it hammer and tongs in the early stages of this race. Although it seems to me, Joe, that Jean-Paul Niehaus is just taking it a little bit easy. It looks like he is calculating, watching his opponent and just seeing what he's doing at this point in time. And I think that we are going to see some moves from these two guys as we go out through the race.
Richard, I need to jump in. We have an overall lead change. Egil Sandfield and Sunset Ben just took a very risky move up the inside, just barely missing the wall, and he's going to come down the front stretch, now taking the lead. But once again, we got Neil Heckens as he's going to try and look inside. Egil goes a little bit defensive, and he's going to back off. It's very early in the race. No point taking any risky moves, but overall, we have a new leader in the C1 class.
Yeah, and you can see just how close he is, and right behind them, actually, Quentin Kent is still giving them a bit of a threat as we watch Heckens work his way around Big Bend. That was interesting that he made a move so early. I was just going to say the same sort of thing about Niehaus, that he knows he doesn't need to be aggressive this early, but obviously Sandfeld did not feel the same and has already worked himself into first in this top class, and is actually, it looks to me, Brian, like he's starting to pull away just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. These guys are some of the best drivers on iRacing, and these guys that know how to drive Sebring really know how to drive Sebring. So we are looking at what a great match here early on in the race. I'm expecting nothing less from the Gathering of Tweakers, Joe.
We did get some information that Figueres had spun into tower and he got rear-ended by Arno Gibbon. So that is why one of those cars was in his pit stall momentarily. So in the meantime, we continue to watch Neil Heckens work his way around the track, trying to keep a hold on to a already charging Eagle Sandfeld.
Yeah, Neil Heckens is doing the best he can, but right now I think his pace might be a little off. As we saw just earlier in the race, he had just a little bit of a bobble. And hold on, it looks like someone's having some trouble as a bunch of Corvettes shoot by. It might be a slowdown penalty for those who did not know what a slowdown penalty is. Coming out of the back straight, there is a very wide lip, and if you cut it too much, if your 4 tires go over that lip, you'll get a penalty where you have to slow down and let the time even out to a more normal state. It keeps people from cutting the course, so that is a very bad mistake early on in the race. It's going to cost them quite a few positions.
And we're trying to see if we can figure out who that was slipping back. Koen Gerards also lost it under braking into the hairpin and was into the wall, had to make a visit to the pits. Meanwhile, I want to jump back to our leader in the GT3 class, that is Maxim Ramstein, and he is right behind Kenneth Jones, who is a class ahead, and yet Maxim is keeping up with him at the moment, Richard. This is kind of what we were talking about early on, that there's a bit of overlap, it seems, between some of these roofs and Corvettes. So Maxim might have an interesting time here with this Corvette being much faster down the straightaway.
Yeah, I am watching as we speak this particular, it's not a battle, it's interclass racing right now, but I am impressed, Joe, with Maxim Ramstein. He has run away a little bit from Paul Ilbrink, even though it's still early in the race. Paul Ilbrink, I thought, might be closer to Maxim, but Maxim is now currently racing one of the Corvettes, which means that he is really, really fast.
And we are on board with Maxim, but I want to hop back to Paulo Martins just for a moment, who is trailing Wim Stockmans as they circle around the track, and this is for 3rd and 4th. And he is very close to him, giving quite a challenge as we look at Paulo now trying to hunt down that blue, white, and yellow car right in front of him.
That's right, and this is in the GT3 class, so you'll be seeing the blue just developing as we speak here. Paulo Martins has got Wim Stockmans in his sights. Wim is managing to hold him off at this point in time, but we'll see how this develops.
Yeah, Wim has gotten himself just a little bit of space through that technical section, now onto the Ullman straight. Let's see what that draft can do in these very fast roof cars as Paulo tries to hunt him down. We're now looking at that blue, green, and white car, and look at just how long the straightaway is, just accelerating forever now into Sunset Bend, and he closes up quite a bit under braking for that corner. In fact, he got a much better exit. This could be a good opportunity if he's got a decent enough run heading towards 1.
That's correct, and there was a good example of how bumpy the track is there coming through Sunset. He makes a move right now, and can he get it done? He's on the inside. We do have him, Stockmans on the outside. A great run there from Stockmans on the outside of turn 1, managing to hold on to the lead position.
The 3rd position actually is where Wim Stockmans is. Yeah, that was an excellent job by him, but I think Martins maybe was just a little bit timid through there. Like we said, it's still very early days. They are only on lap 5 at the moment in a 50-lap race. So I think it looked like Paulo was just kind of knowing there's no reason to go full charge into there. Maybe see if he can pressure a mistake out of Stockmans, but obviously couldn't make him sweat an inch at this moment as he continues to trail that 3rd place car.
Speaking
Correct,
of pressure,
and I do apologize. I do apologize there for the it was 3rd place. But guys, if we hop back into the GTC class and have a look at Blake Townend and Jean-Paul Niehaus, They are absolutely nose to tail with Jean-Paul still just behind Blake Townend, and it looks to me like he could put a challenge on, but he keeps backing out of making that challenge, Joe. So I'm not quite sure why he doesn't. He looks to me to be the faster car right now.
Excuse me. You have to wonder if maybe he's waiting for pit stops or something, since they've got 2 stops for him to try and maybe make a gap and work his way around him. But Brian, you had something to say about the Corvettes. What's the news?
Egil Sanchez has expanded his lead up to 3 seconds, so he is completely checked out. But right now, Neil Heckens in second place is under fire from Quentin Kent. Quentin has been very, very effective through the more technical parts of the backside of the track, and he just nearly made a pass for second place coming down that back stretch in the Sunset Bend. He decided to be a little more conservative and hold on, but as we can see right now, he is much faster through the hairpin and getting a good exit out of that corner. So I would be expecting that Quentin Kent is going to try and make a move for that second position pretty soon.
Yes,
hey guys,
well,
I got to jump right in here. There's been a change in the lead in the GT3 class. Somehow Paul Ilbring got by Maxim Ramstein, who was leading by quite a good distance, and now Paul Ilbring is the new leader in GT3.
I'm wondering if we could get a replay of that. I'll see if we can get that pulled up on our... Yes, here we go now. See what happened to Maxim. We're looking at Paul Ilbrink, though. Let's hop over to Maxim, see if we can figure out what exactly happened to him. It looks like he's already ahead of Maxim in our replay, so it must have been at least a fair ways back. Let's move back just a little bit farther as we watch Maxim head around the S's, and he's already got Ilbrink behind him here coming down the backstretch, so it must have been some sort of mistake. Oh, actually, no, he's behind Ilbrink already heading down the backstretch. So yeah, it was a fair ways back, whatever it was that happened. We'll let's hop back to live, since it looks like that was a fair bit of time ago. But I was going to say, I hope Egil Sanchez isn't an unholy love child of Manuel Sanchez and Egil Sandfeld, as Sandfeld continues to lead the way with Neil Heckens being hassled by Quentin Kent for that second and third place.
Yeah, right now, Quentin Kent looking on the inside of Neil Heckens, but he had to think better of it because he had that rough in the way. I couldn't tell if it was a Cup or a GT3 car. However, that did cost Quentin a little bit of time, so he's going to have to try again the next time around the track. Again, though, Quentin Kent looking very strong in this more technical back part of the track here coming up to the hairpin. I am really surprised he has not gotten around Neil Heckens this far in the race. But he might be playing a little more strategic mindset here. We're only on lap 7 of 50, and there still has to be pit stops to be made. So Quentin Kent, not in any hurry to make this pass. He wants to wait for the right opportunity, I would think, Joe.
And we're on lap 7 right now. Now, I wonder, with Neil Heckens, he put it on the pole, did he not? Yes, he did. So he's sitting in second and being challenged at the moment, with Egil Sandfeld continuing to put a gap on these guys. Heckens either seems to be a bit more of a hot lapper around here, or maybe his setup just hasn't really worked itself up to temperature at this point to try and get the pace out of his race setup.
Well, I'm not going to accuse anybody of sandbagging, but Neil Heckens, I've seen him race in the past. He's very fast and he's very consistent. I just think Quentin Kent has been enjoying the draft on some of these longer straights, and that's why he's keeping up so well. And of course, like you mentioned, if he has a better setup, maybe it is that Neil Heckens, his car is going to come alive more later on in this race. But right now, it's definitely not doing the job because Quentin Kent is just eating him up on these back straights, and it's going to be a matter of time before he finds his way around.
Well, just for those keeping track of the point situation, right now the Radicals team is leading, with Blake Townend leading in GTC, Paul Ilbrink in first in GT3, and Stefan Oergaard in fifth in GT1. At 86 points, they are 4 points ahead of Team Baldnar, and that has Dirk Turlings in seventh in the GT1 in the Corvettes, Jan-Paul Niehaus in second in GTC, the C-Spec roof, and then Maxim Ramstein in the roof track, the GT3 class, is sitting in second in his class. Those guys have a little bit of work to do, but it is not a huge gap at this moment, guys.
Absolutely. And now if we switch to the battle between Ilbrink and Ramstein, we can see that Ramstein is right on the bumper of Paul Ilbrink. He's looking a little bit pacier than Paul Ilbrink. He is going to make, they're coming into turn number 1 now. Paul Ilbrink shoots away, and we have Maxim Ramstein just tucking in behind him once again. So this is a huge battle because not only does it is a battle for position, but it's also a team battle as well as these two guys are in the 1 and 2 teams at the moment.
Yes, and they're in the same respective positions on track, so this is a direct effect. It's going to be a 2-point swing between these guys if Maxim can work his way by, as now they brake very hard for that hairpin and work their way around that very slow corner. Maxim did a very good job about holding on to him there and got a fairly decent exit. I don't think he's going to be close enough into Cunningham, though.
No, it doesn't look like it at this point in time. But he's got the pace. There's no doubt about it. I think at this time, it's just doing a watching brief and just trying to ascertain exactly where Paul Ilbrink's weakness might be. But I think if he's going to make the move, it's either going to be into Sunset or into turn 1, because now watch how he gets right onto the back bumper as they approach now the final set of turns, the S's. Coming onto the Ullman Straight, so he's a little way back there. Paul Ilbrink great through that last section, and now they go down the back straightway, the Ullman Straight, heading towards Sunset once again.
Well, Tower seems to be at least one of the weaknesses of Ilbrink, as he put 2 tires off, and that would really allowed Ramstein to get very close. Now coming around Sunset Bend. And just a quick note, the stewards have decided to black flag and remove Kenneth Jones from the server, as now Ramstein is getting very close, coming up into turn 1. And is he going to make a move? No, he decides to back out of it. That's very interesting. And it looks like Ilbrink is going to just chop him off just that little bit coming through turn 1 and hold the position. But Kenneth was removed because he was not having a good enough internet connection. The stewards decided he was a danger on the track and removed him. Meanwhile, this battle is getting hot and heavy.
Yes, and it did surprise me a little bit, as you said there, Joe, that Maxim didn't make that challenge into. Now he goes to the outside, coming into the right-hander. He backs out every time. He's not going to take a chance of doing any damage to his car, or perhaps putting some wheels off track and getting those incident points, Joe.
Absolutely. I'm very impressed with Maxim, although I think I probably would have been just a little bit more gutsy and try to throw it in there, even if it's this early. He looked like he had a very good run coming up to the hairpin. Now he's dropped back just a little bit as they head around Collier and now into Tower. Let's see how Ilbrink does this time around. Last time he put 2 wheels off. Is he going to keep it clean this time? Yes, he does. Manages to get that good acceleration away as they head through Bishop now.
I do think, though, that Maxim has got his measure as they come again around into that very tricky technical section, getting onto the Ullman Straight once again. And this seems to me, and we see Ilbrink going defensive or he's slowing down. He must have got a slow down penalty there, Joe.
I think he just actually got squirrely out of the corner. It looked like he got a little sideways and he caught it. And yeah, now... no, maybe you're right. Maybe he did get a slowdown. But he's trying to come back as well as he can. But I think you're right that Maxim just has that slightly better pace, as we saw him take away earlier on in this race.
Well, that's right. And now Maxim Ramstein is now the leader of the GT3 class. But Paul Ilbrink is not giving up, Joe. He is... coming through turn 1 there is once again on the bumper. They do have another car in front of them as well. Different class. The car has backed right out of it, going almost off track, I believe. And this battle, we will keep an eye on it because it's a great battle here between the first and second place in the GT3 class.
Very much so. Just a heads up, Blake Townend is continuing to lead with Jan-Paul Niehaus actually dropping pretty far back in the GT3 or GTC class rather, and it looks like Dennis Garrison is holding down the 3rd position over there still as they continue on. Not a lot of action at the top of that class, but this 2-point swing means that now it's gone from 4 points to only 2 points between the Radicals at 85 and Team Baldar at 83. And just behind them, let's not count out the Daltons. with Wim Stockman sitting in 5th, Bert Eichmann's in 4th, and Quentin Kint in 3rd. So those guys obviously are a threat to these top guys as well, as they have 81 points, and all it's going to take is one driver having a big mistake and off some damage, and it could very much go their way.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating watching the team standings. It just goes to show how it's not all about racing position on track. It's about well, it is, but it's about where your teammates are as well. So this is really fascinating, and I congratulate the organizers of this race on how they've done this.
Well, let's hop back a little bit farther back in the GT1, the Corvettes, Jos van Horn and Michael Mellis. That is for 8th and 9th position. They are very close together at the moment and heading towards the hairpin around Big Ben. And we're actually still looking at Pascal Land. Let's see if we can hop over to Jos van Horn possibly here.
Yeah, Jos van Horn, he's been having a very consistent race, as we see as they pass through all of this rough traffic. All throughout the field, you'll start to see that these times are stretching out, and the reason for that is every time a battle forms up, there's a new rough to just get in the way and kind of act as a moving chicane. And not that anything's wrong with it. Remember, this is technically a multi-class race, so this is the kind of thing we expect, especially here at night at Sebring. Right now, though, Jos van Horn doing everything he can to hold back Michael Mellis, as they both have been running very strong paces. The same thing we saw up ahead with 2nd and 3rd place. Neil Heckens was under attack by Quentin Kent, but he got separated by a lot of rough traffic all of a sudden, and he dropped back to about 2 seconds behind him. He's slowly trying to make up that pace, so all throughout the Corvette field, we're starting to see this rough traffic play a factor in today's race.
Yeah, and it's going to be extra difficult around here with the with the darkness and the visibility, and especially with two cars that look very similar. I mean, yes, they have those signifiers as to what class they are in, but if you're closing up fast, especially heading towards Sunset Bend, where the differences in speed are somewhat significant, I have to imagine it's kind of a guess of like, can I, how fast am I going to approach these guys, and do I try and be aggressive and get around because this is the slowest class, or is this the next class down?
Yeah, it is very difficult to decide how you want to play it out, especially like you said in Sunset Bend. It's very tricky. If the Corvettes get trapped on the inside, they tend to slide out towards the rounder part of the circle there. So it's very difficult to maintain your speed while managing traffic through some of these corners on the track. And as we see now, as Jos van Horn tries to make his way around the rough, he does it very nicely. I think Michael is going to try and do the same thing. Nope, he's going to get separated by the rough. So again, getting separated into the hairpin section, getting trapped on the inside. Not very easy for these Corvettes to do that. It's going to cost them a few tenths.
Yes, and just for a moment, I actually want to hop back to Denny Ratz, and I believe that is Wim Stockmans. Yes, Denny Ratz and Wim Stockmans. This is for 5th and 4th between these guys. They're very close together at the moment, and Stockmans is part of that 3rd place team at the moment, the Daltons. So he is working hard. He's really going to want to try and move up that one more position and get them in a tie, or I'm sorry, that wouldn't put them in a tie. That would put them 1 point back from Team Bodnar as they work their way around a car of the slower class roofs here.
Yeah, that's Kun Gerard in the GTC class. They both got by him pretty safely. Denny Ratz just got by, and just in front of him, Wim Stockmans, as you said. Wim Stockman's pretty comfortably ahead, but there's not much in it, definitely. And these two guys will be battling for each other. Joe, I wonder whether the drivers, I'm pretty sure they're not aware of the championship standings unless they've got a crew chief telling them what is happening. But you would imagine they're just trying to do the best they can out on track.
I think it all depends on the driver's setup, and that's something that we haven't talked a lot about here on GSRC, that can make a difference in ways like that. I don't know about you guys, but I have 2 monitors, at least for my machine that I run iRacing on, and that would allow me to have that window open off to the side to be able to watch the point standings as it is live. So some of these guys could have a setup that allows them to be informed and just take a glance and see where they sit, whether or not they need to take that risk and push to get that one more position or not.
Yeah, I think you're right. But in my opinion, in a race like this, a crew chief would be absolutely magnificent to have in your corner.
Absolutely, and that's a feature that iRacing allows you to have. There would be someone that could, uh, adjust your setup and adjust your car for the pit stops and whatnot, keep you informed, act as a spotter as well, and just let you know what's going on around you. Especially, I remember in the Enduro Pro Series, we watched one race at Mid Ohio where João Vaz mentioned having his crew chief tell him when traffic was coming. He knew, exactly what the timing is going to be like, when he needed to really push to try and get himself into the right position, or if he was heading towards a technical section. So you're right, Richard, that with three classes out here, I imagine. Oh, and we're looking at an accident going on ahead of Denny Ratz. Who was that?
That was, in fact, Wim Stockmans, who touched one of the slower class cars as they were trying to move through. And now we do have Denny Ratz right on the back of Wim Stockman. So this battle has been brought much closer now due to that lap traffic there.
And that was Pascal Tennyson that we just saw get punted off. I'm wondering if that's going to cause a black flag for poor Wim Stockmans. Now we're watching him as he comes up to the back of that pink shod car, that red and black roof C-Spec, and now heading up into the braking zone. Let's see, does he just get a little too hot? It looks like, yeah, he was just maybe a little too hot and gave him a little bit of a tap. And with the speeds that you're entering that corner, you can see the results just absolutely skidding off. Thankfully, it didn't hit the barrier too hard, so I hope the damage doesn't really hurt that car's handling.
And now we've got Ruud Milders as well, but luckily they are on the back stretch, Ulman Straight, where it should be fairly easy to pass, as we see Milders slowing down significantly to allow Wim Stockmans by, which is a good move from him, but that does or should hold up Denny Ratz quite a little bit, and that is the case coming out of Sunset Bend now, Joe. He's a little ways behind again.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to try and adjust your line mid-corner through that corner, so I really can't blame Ruud Mulders for being, in that situation and accidentally balking Denny Ratz. So, but it looks like there wasn't too much damage done because he hasn't lost too much time. He's still well on the back of Stockmans, so there's still damage to be done if Ratz is feeling punchy.
Absolutely, and bearing in mind it was Stockmans that did the punting, so one would imagine that might give Denny Ratz an advantage. He closes up once again as they go through the right-hander. But the exit of the corner, Wim Stockman's obviously a little better there and widening that gap just a little bit once again. So this is certainly a battle to watch as they continue to come up on slower traffic. So we'll keep an eye out on that. We're also getting information that there might just be a little time in between the updates for the team standings. So we'll come back to having a look at the team standings a little bit later on.
Absolutely. We also got some information. Apparently, Pascal did not make contact, is what we're hearing with Stockmans, that we're not seeing that actually, and it could have been what we call ghost contact if they did actually make contact, because they weren't actually close enough to be physically touching each other on the track. Now, what do we mean by ghost contact, Brian, since you were talking a little bit earlier about the internet connection?
Well, Joe, ghost contacting happens when typically when cars are blinking, but sometimes it's not always the case. Sometimes if the drivers have a big enough displacement and ping, if you get close enough to each other, the server doesn't really render where the car actually is, so it kind of guesses. And every once in a while, if the cars get too close to each other, they register as hitting each other, even though no contact was actually made. It's very frustrating for drivers on iRacing, as you can imagine, because a lot of the times when you have these close racing situations, your car just all of a sudden is out of control into a wall, or you all of a sudden picked up damage you didn't know you had. So, you kind of got to approach each car with a little bit of caution and while racing hard. Now, what we've seen with the race today, a few cars did have a few blinking moments. It wasn't just on our end. I think that driver was removed, but there is a case that some cars might be still blinking out there, causing ghost contacts.
And as we watch Denny Ratz, speaking of close cars, Wim Stockman is very close in front of him now as they exit the hairpin. This could be his best opportunity as they head towards Cunningham.
Yeah, they're very, very close right now, coming up towards Cunningham. I am impressed, though. Wim Stockman seems to get better exits out of the corners than does Denny Rats, and you can see that just there. He pulls away a little bit just coming out of the corner, so he is using a tactic of slower in and fast out. You can see that Rats closing up on the entry to the corner, but on the exits, Joe, it is Stockmans who is the winner.
Well, we've had some trouble, unfortunately, for the Daltons as Bert Eichmans has slipped down into 13th. This means that they are now in 6th, and our new third place car is Phoenix Motorsports with Joris Thelen sitting in 5th in the GTC class. Andre Martins is in 6th in GT1, and Paulo Martins sitting in 3rd in the GT3. They should have called themselves the Martins, possibly. So, and we know from experience that Andre and Paulo are both very strong drivers.
Meanwhile, this battle between Denny Rats and Wim Stockmans is still very hot, Joe. These guys are very close, and it looks to me as if Denny Rats is sizing up Wim Stockmans for a pass. They're coming up to turn number 1 now. He does back out a little bit. He closes up somewhat and then backs out again. Turn 1 is a very, very fast corner. And if you make one mistake there, you could find yourself in the wall. So you don't want to make any mistakes. But now they're coming up on a slower car. This could have an effect. Very, very close racing here. And
we are a bit sideways in Sunset Bend. I'm sorry, Richard. It's Klaus Peterson. He had a big spin. I just caught that out of the corner of my eye as they were going through. Let's go back and see what happened. Unfortunately, our director's AFK for the moment, so we can't get a replay. But it looks like Klaus Peterson coming into Sunset Bend just over-braked and maybe clipped that inside wall, causing them to lose control over the bumps, and away he goes. Looks like very minimum damage, if at all, but that is going to be a huge blow to Klaus Peterson, who is already a lap down.
Meanwhile, we were watching as Timon Nebers was overtaken by Denny Rats and Wim Stockmans as their battle continues. Sorry to say that we couldn't get our cameras on that accident, unfortunately, but we are still watching a very good battle between the 3rd and 4th place car and the GT3 class in these roof track cars, as now they head around Bishop, and just not quite close enough is Denny Rats to try and make something happen, although it looks like Stockman is getting balked by some lap traffic. That is Yelena Medvedev. I'm sorry, I'll have to let you say that one, Richard. Medvedev, thank you. You always do so much better on that one. But now they're able to get by Yelena as Wim Stockmans is accelerating down this Ullman straight, and Denny Rats is side by side with that lapped car, now into the braking zone, and now they are going to be able to continue their battle. But boy, it was tense moments for a second. Oh, and they're going to get side by side. There was contact! And contact as Denny Rats continues on, and it looks like Wim Stockmans is able to get himself turned around now through Sunset Bend and able to continue on, but he is going to lose a bunch of time.
And he decides that now is the time to enter the pits. He's done that, so I wonder if there might be a little penalty in that one for Denny Rats, because that could have been avoidable contact there, Joe.
Yeah, it's a bit tough because it's so hard to keep yourself out of someone that you're very close to in that corner with all those bumps. And as we continue to watch Denny Rats, right now, Wim Stockmans is sitting in the pits trying to get his car repaired as he takes care of his pit stop. Although he was past his stall, it looks like. He backed into his spot.
Yes, he had to back it up, so he's lost more time there. And now he's up on the jacks and getting some tires. So it's going to be a bit of a lengthy stop for him. Meanwhile, the position has well and truly been taken by Denny Rats. But, Joe, that's racing, as you said. These things do happen.
Just an update on our 1st and 2nd place in the points. The Radicals are still leading at 84, and Team Bodnar is at 81. Right now, the weak link in each of them, Stefan Orgaard, is sitting in 6th in the Corvettes. And then in Team Bodnar, Dirk Turlings is sitting in 8th. Also in the Corvette. So apparently it's a lot harder to be a top runner in the Corvettes with these teams. So we're now watching Stefan Overgaard actually complete his pit stop, and we'll see how these things play out. So that could be actually just slightly modified, as those points are going to be a little bit confused with pit stops starting to take place.
Absolutely, Joe. And we see the leaders of the GT3 class both entering the pits right now. That's Maxim Ramstein and Paul Ilbrink. They are right one behind the other, getting into their pit stalls as we speak. and stopping and taking tires. I'm just interested to see whether they're going to take tires. It seems like everyone's taking tires, although Paul Ilbrink is not taking tires. The jacks have not come down for him. So very interesting stuff here. He should be out in front of Maxim Ramstein, Joe.
And you can see Ramstein just go down. He is in that blue and red car that's just in front of the black and white car of Paul Ilbrink. Now it looks like Ramstein is off the jacks, obviously taking a while to fill up, but Ramstein is out first.
Yeah, and Ilbrink did not take tires. This is a mystery. So he might have had a little bit of damage repair there or something, or maybe he's taken a lot more fuel. That may be the answer, but certainly he's slower out of the pits than Ramstein.
And so it could be I was going to say, as far as fuel goes, it could be that fuel takes longer than tires, so you kind of get a freebie if you want tires. Neil Heckens has stopped into the pits. There was a 4-second gap between our two leaders in the GT3 class that we were just watching. So that is the difference that it makes in the pit stalls. But as you said, could be differing pit strategy between these guys as they still have yet to make the next stop. We are only 18 laps in on them, and 19 laps overall, with Eagle Sandfeld continuing to lead the way in our GT1 class.
Joe, it looks like about 90% of the Corvettes actually came in on that last stop. Eagle Sandfeld was the first to come off pit road. Obviously, he had a huge gap. Right now, I'm looking just behind the pace car at Jos Van Horn, Arno Gieben, who's a little ways back. He's 5 laps down, and then a few other drivers as well. So right now, it looks like maybe this might be a little bit of a shorter pit window than we're used to. But, I mean, if everyone's going in, and that's probably the best time to do it when you can come out of pit lane with a draft still within reaching distance.
And with us having, I believe, 40 cars still on track, with Arno still getting his car repaired, there's almost no place, it seems like, for these guys can come out and try and have some open track, especially with these 3 different classes. Everyone's kind of fighting as we watch Eagle work his way past the roof of Richard Schuderin. So it's I would say usually, that's another thing. If you know exactly how much your bogey time is on your pit stall, the crew chief that Richard mentioned could really come in handy if you could find just that little bit more of gap out there in the racing line of trying to come back out and be able to run some fast laps after your stop.
Yeah, especially if you do have a crew chief, not saying that everyone does, but and some of these faster teams might, they can look at where the traffic's the most condensed and try to have the lead car come out right in front of that traffic patch, because they know that when those cars behind that were a little bit farther back are coming out, they're going to be right in the mix of traffic. So if you don't have a gap, you can potentially create one, which will slow down the other cars behind you, making your lead a little bit more over the next car behind you.
Well, we're currently watching Bas Slob on the screen, and he's being overtaken by a GT1 car, I believe. No, I'm sorry. The GT1 car is Bas Slob, who is right now going by Remco Moat on the outside of the Sunset Bend. And we're hearing some chatter over the radio. Andre Martin seems a little bit unhappy about something. Let's see if something happened there. Oh, it looks like there was some contact with Andre Martins. I'm not sure if we can get a replay. He ran into a car that was, oh no, he didn't make contact, but it was very close between himself and Bert Eichmanns. Let's get a replay of that with Andre Martins. Let's see, we're rewinding here as now we're getting ready to head down the Ullman Straight, and it happened in Sunset Bend. So there was Bert Eichmanns just ahead of him who had spun or had some sort of problem in Sunset Bend. You'll see it in just a little bit as Andre Martin screams down this back straightaway up towards the very fast 181-degree right-hander on board, and you can see the smoke already. Just barely avoids that car in front of him. Actually has to take to the grass, and that's going to earn him an incident point. In fact, Bert Eichmanns has got a warning for an unsafe rejoin from race control. So obviously they are going to be watching him, letting him know that that is not okay. And for those wondering how these penalty points are going to work out, they are not included in the live timing. As we read you those results, remember that it is not finished until we come back for interviews after a break, after the race. We will get you all the points put together and tell you who exactly is the actual winner. So all these firsts and seconds that we read out, don't take them completely as the ultimate truth, because some things can still change. Meanwhile, Andre Martin's continuing on around the track, Brian, thankfully without any damage.
Andre Martin is one of those guys that we've been becoming a little more familiar with, excuse me, as I mumble my way through that sentence. Andre Martins has been in the EPS series. He drives the Corvette quite a bit. He's very fast. I think today he might be a little out of his element. Sebring is not his best track, and especially at night. And this is very technical and very difficult with all this traffic all over the track. So I could see.
I'm sorry to cut in, but Eagle Sandfeld had a smoking car. He had contact. Eagle Sandfeld made contact in Sunset Bend. And we just caught the end of it on a replay. So let's see if we can go back just about 30 more seconds. Now we're going to see what happens here. And I think he's not quite yet to the backstretch. Yes, he is here. As he is heading down, he's got a whole group of cars, some of them side by side up ahead of him.
Oh, Joe. Oh, no. Sorry to jump in, Joe. It looks like there was a spinning Porsche in the middle of Sunset Bend. He came around in the blind corner, had nowhere to go, and got on completely 100% with the front of his car. His day might actually be done, as that engine took a huge hit.
Yeah. We just watched it on the replay, and there was a number of cars heading in front of him from all that accident. It seemed like there was a few cars that got caught up in that, unfortunately. And we're going to watch it again just now as it unfolds. You can see just almost blind with all that smoke. Oof! Absolutely plowed into that front wall. It's a good thing that these cameras are all digital, or we wouldn't have a picture after that huge blow on the nose there. And works his way into the pit slowly. So this is going to be a significant change in things, I think. No, Eagle Sandfeld is out there, so they must have a spare car of some sort that they have worked into this.
Well, maybe one of us can go talk to a league administrator and find out what the ruling on that is. But for those who don't know, a spare car, a lot of leagues utilize it so people get another chance to go out and race, and it gives you a fresh car, so to speak. But that's your only repeat. So after that, you're on your own.
Well, Eagle is currently sitting in 5th, and his car is very much running and not smoking, so I'm assuming they do have some sort of spare car out there, unless he's got some crazy good mechanics. And he's having his own trouble as he works his way through Sunset Bend yet again with more roof cars. And Eric Mulder holding him up just a bit. Now he's able to go on by as they blast down this front stretch. So it still hasn't changed much, though, in terms of points. Radicals are still leading at 86 points. Team Boldnar is still sitting in second, although they're at 81 points. In fact, they are tied in second with Phoenix Motorsports at 81 points as well now. Or I'm sorry, no, it's switched up as timing continues to update. Team Bodnar at 82, Phoenix Motorsports at 81, so only 1 point separating these guys. And I'm trying to see if any of them are actually close together on track.
Well, guys, let me just give you an update in the meantime. If you're looking at the GTC class, that is the roof C track, you will notice that Dennis Garrison is actually leading at this point in time. But that is because both Blake Townend and Jean-Paul Niels have actually pitted, and Dennis Garrison has not. Although he must have gone into the pits now, because I just see that Blake Townend has taken back the lead of the race, and Jean-Paul Niels has come through as well. So Dennis Garrison must have done his pit stop, or is busy doing his pit stop as we speak. He's still out on track though, but he must have done a pit stop. But that was the case, and in that class, Blake Townend still leading well from Jean-Paul Niehaus. So that's an update for you for the GTC class.
Yes, in fact, this incident for Neil Heckens, or I'm sorry, for what was that for Neil Heckens that we saw before? No, that was I'm sorry.
Sandfield.
Yes, thank you. There's a lot of things to keep track of today. Eagle Sandfeld having that accident has moved Quentin Kent up into second and Stefan Overgaard up into third. And Stefan is in the Radicals, so that's really helping them boost their points just that little bit more and keep themselves a little bit of a gap as we watch the Flying Smurf work his way around this very dark track.
You know, it is interesting, Joe. Neil Heckens has taken a 7-second lead over Quentin Kent, so he has been very lucky, I think, today with the traffic. As we go back and remember, earlier on, Quentin Kent was all over the back of Neil Heckens at the start of the race, and then every time a rough came through, Neil just got a little bit more of a break, and sooner or later he got a huge gap. Now with Eagle Sandfield out of contention for the lead at the moment, he's very fast, so I don't see him being back too long. That's going to give Neil Heckens a chance to catch his breath and just ride around for a minute to recuperate and figure out what needs to be done to stay in the lead.
Yes, and currently Kent has what looks like a 9-second lead over Stefan Overgaard as well. So our top three and the GT1 class are quite spread out at the moment. In the meantime, there is not much gap between Maxim Reimstein and Paul Ilbrink, who are still close and have been close, Richard, pretty much this whole race, it seems.
Exactly, Joe. I was going to provide an update for you on that. These two guys have been one behind the other for most of the race, and bearing in mind 23 laps have been run so far. Paul Ilbrink still sitting in the second place in the GT3 class, but he is closing up at times on Maxim Reimstein, and then Maxim Reimstein gets away a little bit again, particularly in the back part of the track here where they are now. But this is still a close race, and we cannot rule out Paul Ilbrink at all. And of course, he's doing a wonderful job for his team, because they are the Radicals team currently is sitting at the top of the leaderboard.
And Maxim has something to fight for in this, with his team being in second. So if Ilbrink overtakes him, they're currently 4 points behind Ilbrink's team, the Radicals, and that's going to swing it 2 more points between these guys. So Maxim really has to try. I mean, he can't go any higher. So all he has to do at this point is defend the position instead of worrying about running anybody else down.
Correct. And he's got to stay ahead of Paul Ilbrink to keep his team up there at the top. But Paul Ilbrink, of course, being part of the Radicals team, in second place, they are already leading the team championship at this point. So even if he just holds station at this time, he may not win the race, but his team may certainly win the team championship. So everything to fight for here, Joe.
We are just about to the halfway point as Neil Heckens is getting ready to start lap 25. So let's head through the top 5 in each class real quick. In the GT1 class, Neil Heckens currently leading. Quentin Kent is in second. Stefan Overgaard is in third. Bob Van Katvik is in fourth. And then Andre Martins is in fifth. What do the top 5 look like in the GT3 class, Richard?
Well, we just spoke about it. Maxim Reimstein is leading the GT3 class. Paul Ilbrink is in second place, not far behind Maxim Reimstein. Paulo Martins, whom we haven't mentioned, he's been really steady. He's in third place. He's held that position for all of the race. And Pascal Lahn, another gentleman that we have not mentioned before, he is in fourth place. And Denny Ratz, who was involved in a close battle early on, is in fifth place, Joe.
And then meanwhile, Brian, what is our final class, our GTC class, looking like?
Well, in the C-Spec, we got Blake Townend. He's in the lead right now, followed by Jan van Niehals. Janice Garrison's in third, followed by Joris Thielen. Excuse me if I get these names wrong. And then Thiemann Nebers is in fifth.
And with that update, and with us halfway through, we are going to take a... Oh, I'm sorry, what's going on?
We do have a battle between Denny Ratz in the fifth place and Pascal Lahn in fourth place in GT3.
We are just getting ready to go to a break, and it doesn't look like anything's happening between them right now, as it looks like Ratz actually made a bit of took quite a bit of curve there coming through Tower. Let's hop away for just a moment, give ourselves just a little bit of a breather. We're going to keep an eye on this. If something happens, we will break back in and bring you up to date on this battle. Welcome back to Sebring International Raceway as we continue to watch the gathering of tweakers Sebring 185. We had our cameras on Denny Rotz and Pascal Lon as things continued on, and Pascal actually managed to work his way past. So Pascal now up into fourth in the GT3 class. And also a bit of an update off screen, we did not see Blake Townend actually had a spin but continues to hold the lead in the GTC class.
That is correct. And in both these classes, the gap now between first and second is still quite large, Joe, so not much action happening there. So it'll be further down the pack where we will need to look for the action, and believe me, there's plenty of action.
Absolutely. And as you probably saw as we were updating the points during the break, Radicals are currently leading with Blake Townend, Paul Ilbrink, and Stefan Owergaard, all 1, 2, and 3 in each of their classes, respectively. And then Team Boldnar is at 82 points with Dirk Turlings in 8th in GT1, John Paul Niehaus in 2nd GTC, and Maxim Ramstein leading the way in the GT3 class. But not much room between themselves and third place. Phoenix Motorsports, Joris Thalen Joris Thalen, in 4th place. Andre Martins in 5th in GT1, and Paulo Martins 3rd in GT3, as you can see on the screen. So it's all very close up at the top, and in fact, 4th place isn't as far back either, but we're not going to touch on that. We're going to get back to the action on track as we continue to watch Rotz try to get that spot back from Pascal.
Yeah, that's correct. And just in front of Denny Rotz, and we've got the cameras on Denny Rotz right now. In front of him is Pascal Lon. This is a great battle that has been developing just before we went to the break. It's still on, Joe, because they are very, very close right now. Denny Rotz trying to get that position from Pascal Lon, but Pascal Lon defending very well and holding him off at the moment.
And Pascal is that black and yellow car, and Denny Rotz is the orange and white car that is trailing at the moment as we watch them work their way through those S's after the hairpin, and now down towards Cunningham. So this is going to be important for Rotz, obviously, to try and work his team just that little bit higher, which he is in the 4th place team right now, the Racing Lions. So that's going to help him try to crack into that top 3 as far as the team championship.
Joe, speaking of the Racing Lions, oh, excuse me, Richard.
Go ahead.
I was going to say Neil Heckens is currently leading the GT1 class with the Corvette, and Carl Kint, who is in 2nd place, has been making up about 0.7 of a second per lap over Neil Heckens. When we went to break, the gap was somewhere around 7 seconds. Now it's down to 2.9 at the last update. So Quentin Kint is very quick right now, and Neil Heckens is probably either relaxing too much or just doesn't have it today, because I think Quentin is seeing red.
Yeah, he's closed that gap significantly. I'm glad you caught that. I hadn't noticed that before. And we're about an hour into this thing. However, this is done by laps, even though it can be shortened by time, although I don't think these guys are going to be able to run more than 2 hours and 15 minutes in those 50 laps. Currently on lap 30, so we're well past halfway, and they still have one more pit stop yet to go. If Quentin has faster pace, or unless Neil made a mistake somewhere along the way, I'm wondering if Quentin could maybe look to try and leapfrog the leader, as he's actually closed right in on, oh, I'm sorry, no, that's Richard Cortland in a roof that is just ahead of him. So Neil has put him a lapped car between the two of them, which now Quentin has worked his way past. And yeah, it's getting very close between these two. I'm very curious if Neil just made a mistake or what happened there.
Well, I'm willing to bet it's going to be traffic at the end of the day, because Neil, he has been slowing down quite a bit for a lot of these roughs. We've been seeing a few of them going side by side in the corners, battling out their own races, so that's going to slow Neil down quite a bit. But also, Quentin started off the race conservative in traffic, and now he's being a little more aggressive, going around the outside. I think he's starting to think that well, he's been conservative long enough. Now it's time to really push and try to make up that gap. And getting stuck behind cars is not going to help him. So right now, I think it was just a slight change of pace for everybody, and maybe a change of strategy as well.
As we watch that Corvette just fly down the backstretch into Sunset Bend and work his way around, and that would be Quentin Kent that we are watching excuse me, as he completes yet another lap in that white Corvette, trying to chase down Neil Heckens and the white, black, and orange Corvette ahead of him. So it looks
Joe,
like
let me break in here for a second. In the GTC class, there's been a change for the leadership. It's gone unnoticed by us, but Jean-Paul Nias is now leading the GTC class.
so. Something happened to Blake Townend along the way. I'm trying to see if we can figure out if it was recent, but we do know that Blake Townend spun completely on his own. He made driver error earlier, and I'm not entirely sure. It looks like it was just a straight up battle. As I think Niehaus, no, that's a different car getting by him. Where is Niehaus? I guess no. I'm not entirely sure what happened with Blake Townend, but whatever the case, you're right. He has slipped into second place, and Townend is in the Radicals. So this is going to allow Team Bodnar to move themselves that little bit closer. It is now 2 points between the Radicals and Team Bodnar, 86 to 84.
That is correct, and unfortunately, we did not catch the incident with Blake Townend. We don't know what happened to him, but certainly I do know that Jean-Paul Nias was some 3 seconds back from Townend, and he's either made that up in pace, which I doubt. Something must have happened to Townend, but he is now leading by what would just visibly be something like 3 or 4 seconds, Joe.
And we're getting word that Timon de Boers is having quite the battle himself with Joop Gellison. Let's see if we can hop back to that and see what's going on there. This is currently for the 6th and 5th spot in the GTC class, as these two cars now head onto the front stretch with Joop in the lead of Timon, and Joop is in the black and red car that you see with Timon in the pink and white car, I believe.
That is correct, and we just saw a GT1 car go past in the Corvette, and now they close right up. Here's a good battle developing right here. GTC class, we're looking at Timon de Boers, and just in front of him we have Joop Gellison. So this battle is on, and this is for position as we see Timon de Boers go to the outside, coming out of turn 1 and going down under the bridge there. At this point in time, nothing doing, but the battle is on, Joe.
And he's able to slip on the inside. It looks like de Boers has got the spot. Very clean pass at the hairpin. That was textbook.
Yes, great pass right there. And now Joop Gellison has it all to do to catch up again. A little gap developing now. He closes up on the brakes as they go through the right-hander, but it seems to me that Timon Joop Gellison has done a great move there. Now, I've got confused. I'm sorry. Back to you, Joe.
It's okay. It's difficult in this darkness. That's Kenneth Jensen of another class who is trying to get by. And I'm sorry if we've been mispronouncing that name. We have been corrected. That is Joop Gellison that was passed. So Joop is trying to hold on to Timon de Boers, who has made up another spot. And I'm not sure what team Timon is a part of. I'm going to check to see if I can see where he is in the team standings here. It looks like he is part of the Rusty Racers, which is currently sitting in 8th, so those guys have a ways to go. I keep watching with these top teams to see who has the opportunity to try and move up in positions. Right now, Team Bodnar could have a good chance to try and work their way up just that little bit higher, as Dirk Turlings is sitting in 7th in the Corvettes. However, he has a fair distance up to Eagle Sandfeld, but Dirk is currently the weak link in that Team Bodnar.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am with the play. I'm with the play now. It's Timon de Boers leading from Joop Gellison. So we'll leave it at that for the moment, as they are just they are in line at the point. But sorry about that, folks.
Go ahead, Brian. You're cutting in with something?
I was just going to say Neil Heckens had a really good chance to go ahead and make up some more time over Quentin Kidd, who's been closing in the last couple of laps, and he finally did get a break where traffic did get clogged up in this weird little tower section of the track. But unfortunately, Quentin Kent just found a massive hole and shot his way right through. So now working through traffic as we see Heckens taking a strange line on the inside of that very tricky corner there. He is doing everything he can to keep Quentin off his heels, but in this traffic finally is giving him quite the break.
Well, Dennis Garrison was holding up Quentin Kent as well, although he wasn't doing anything wrong. It was just an awkward section, as you mentioned. And wow, look at under braking as just a very aggressive move by Quentin, and somehow works his way past Jakob Sondergaard.
Yeah, very aggressive move indeed. And like I said, I think that's what we're going to come to see here now that we've gotten past the halfway point of the race. Right now, last I checked, we're on lap 33. So right now is really the time to push in case there is another pit stop. They want to close the gap up as much as possible so they can try to overtake later on.
Huge spin from Quentin, or not spin, but slide by Quentin Kent coming through Sunset Bend. We were on board as we watched that. We need to get an off-board shot of that replay of that slide as he just was power drifting that car through that corner. I'm amazed that he held on to it. But obviously he lost some time as he is now 3.2 seconds back from the leader. Now we're going to that replay as we are going to watch that incredible save by Quentin Kent in second place in the GT1 class. Entering into Sunset Bend, just took a little bit too much speed. And look at the smoke trailing from that car. And he holds onto it and keeps it going. Great stuff.
Yeah, Quentin Kent had a lot of weight loaded in those tires, and it looks like the bumps get the best of them. And that's really what's going to happen if they get on the gas too soon going through turn 17 and 18. So that was quite the good catch from Quentin Kent, just showing some of that Corvette muscle that we're used to seeing in some of our other series. A good move overall from Quentin.
So as he tries to run down Neil Heckens, Neil keeps putting car after car in between those two, which is really what I think he needs to keep doing to try to keep that gap up, is not allow Quentin to just have that raw positioning and just work his way and slice his way through this field. Yeah,
and like I said, Neil Heckens earlier was very conservative through traffic, and now it's kind of turned tables. Neil's now doing what he can once again to get through those cars as much as possible. Like we said earlier, if there is a pit stop, you're going to want to have as much of a gap as possible. So it might benefit him just a little bit to be a little more aggressive now in case there is yet again another pit stop later on.
And we just got word that Jean-Paul Niehaus, who was our leader in the GTC class, just spun by himself in Tower Corner and got himself back on track. However, this has allowed Blake Townend back into the lead after losing it earlier.
Yeah, that's correct. And I can also report that Maxim Ramstein has retaken the lead from Paul Ilbrink in the GT3 class. Will remember, as Paul Ilbrink comes into the pits right now, you will remember that Paul Ilbrink had got by Maxim earlier on in the race, but now Maxim is in control once again, and Paul Ilbrink has decided to come in for his second pit stop.
As we just saw a car actually off track as we were watching Maxim. I'm not sure who that was. I'm going to go back and check because it seemed significant there. That was Eric Mulder, actually, and it looks like there might have been... No, there wasn't contact. He just hit a cone and slid himself sideways, thankfully out of the racing line, and is able to continue on going. So that was a single car incident for poor Eric Mulder. But it's starting to hit the second pit stops, obviously, as you mentioned, with Ilbrink heading into his stall and is now actually exiting out, while Maxim Ramstein continues on in the lead of that GT3 class.
That's correct. So Paul Ilbrink has done his second pit stop now. He's done... I'm not quite sure whether that's an early pit stop, although the pit window would seem to be open at this stage after 34 laps. So it looks like roughly 18 laps or thereabouts for a stint. And we should be seeing a lot of the cars coming in, and it will be a little bit chaotic for a while there. But right now, Maxim Ramstein in GT3 is leading. He has yet to pit. Paul Ilbrink in second place there, with Paolo Martins just quietly in third place. In the GTC class, we saw the Jean-Paul Niehaus spin out. Blake Townend now leading over there, Joe, and Jean-Paul Niehaus in second, with Dennis Garrison in third in those. So there's an update on those classes.
Now, I don't want to be blaring the horns too early here since we are in the midst of pit stops, but the Radicals have now slipped down into third at 82 points. Team Bodnar is leading at 85, with Phoenix Motorsports close behind at 83. But I see Stefan Overgaard sitting in 8th position. I believe he probably has served his second stop. We're waiting on Blake Townend and Paul Ilbrink to each come in. Or no, Paul Ilbrink has actually served his stop as well. Which we just mentioned earlier.
Joe, Maxim is just in the pits now, so Paul Ilbrink, if he can make up enough time to take back the first position, will be interesting as we see the jacks go down on Maxim Ramstein's car. He is still sitting there waiting for the fuel to be loaded into the tank at this stage. So where is Paul Ilbrink? As we see, he moves now. Maxim starts to move out of the pits. Paul Ilbrink is coming around. He's on Sunset. He's coming up on the front straight now. I think that we will find that Maxim Ramstein comes out in front of him.
Yes, he is well clear as Maxim Ramstein continues on. Is going to retake the lead once these pit stops cycle through. Brian, though, it sounds like you've got some information on our leaders in the GT1 classes. Something is developing.
Yeah, right now, Quentin Kent's breathing a sigh of relief as a lot of those McLarens roughs that we've been talking about been going down pit road, so he has a lot of open track in front of him, and it seems like the last couple of laps he has been Quentin has been about 5/10 faster than the leader Neil Heckens, and in the last lap itself we saw the gap go from 3.3 seconds to 2.8 seconds. So right now Quentin Kent is in the zone and he is running fast laps. He's just trying to find holes in the traffic so we can capitalize on it.
It's been very tough for these GT1 cars today throughout the race. I've just been noticing that the traffic seems to be almost constant for these guys. I don't think that they're getting any clean laps at all. As now we watch our leader, Neil Heckens. We're watching Quentin Kent actually on the screen working his way through a slower roof car in one of the other classes, now heading towards turn 3. But Neil Heckens is having to deal with the exact same thing as Quentin Kent, so it's pretty much even. It's a give and take. It's an ebb and flow, as we always say with these this multi-class racing and having to deal with slower classes.
Yeah, I'd like to think in a perfect world it comes down to matters of tenths. Maybe one driver can be a couple tenths faster getting around traffic than the other. That really does stack up over a long period of times. But in reality, I don't think there's really a safe way to get through traffic on Sebring. Everything's a late apex. It's very dark and bumpy here, so you got to be extra careful in getting around the slower traffic. So right now, Quentin Kent just praying that he can gets a break and can find a big hole so he can continue throwing down those good laps.
And we are watching as, very close moment for Heckens as he's trying to go around the outside and gets very close to that GTC car of Blake Townend, the leader actually, in that pink and white car, as now he lets another car, Michael Mellis, actually work his way through. But Blake Townend sporting those bright pink rims on his car, and I'm a little bit grateful that at least one of these cars has rims that matches and looks pretty good with his paint schemes.
Yeah, that's kind of a new feature in iRacing this time around. More freedom to paint the car how you want it, so it actually can be kind of a benefit. A lot of those colored rims will pick up light off of the headlights and make them pretty bright, so you can get a better idea of what the car is doing on the track if you can get a good angle. And right now we see Neil Heckens dive down pit road, so I think Quentin Kent is going to stay out and try and get a couple laps ahead of him so he can try to throw down a couple tenths and come out in front of Neil Heckens later on. Hopefully Neil does not take a very long pit stop so we can retain that lead.
Yes, so we will watch the points change once again as Blake Townend did come in from first place and the Radicals had moved themselves up into the lead of the points. Meanwhile, Phoenix Motorsports is still sitting in second, though, just ahead of Bodnar. And it's 83 to 82 between those two. Dirk Turling's sitting in eighth, so I think he's one more position lower than we saw him before. So I'm wondering if that's due to pit stops or whether Turling has actually dropped that position to Jos Van Horn, who's sitting in seventh in the GT1.
Turling has been having a couple of laps that were not, I guess what you'd call optimal, but he's been throwing down some very consistent laps. I just think his pace might not be there today. He's a very good driver nonetheless, though. And right now, Quentin Kent, Joe, if you can go see where Neil Heckens is, Quentin Kent is coming around and getting ready to come onto the back stretch. So I guess what's going to come down to is how fast can Quentin go down and throw that pit stop.
Yeah, if he can get some clear air right now, Quentin is really going to need to start rifling off fast laps to try and hop Neil Heckens in the pit stops here, as Neil is actually working to try to get past some traffic of Kenneth Jensen and the GT3 class, and now he's going to work his way by. It's really going to hinge, I think, a bit on traffic and a bit on pace here, on whether or not Quentin Kent can work his way past.
Quentin Kent just had a very, very risky moment as you saw him just kick that cone through the air. If he went any farther to the right, you could have guaranteed that he would have had a slowdown penalty. So lucky for him, he did not have to slow down and continues to move on. And look now, right, Quentin Kent is going down pit road, so now we can see how Neil Heckens did on his pit stop in relation to Quentin Kent. How close will they be when they come out?
We are watching Quentin Kent take that achingly slow pit run down the pit stalls and work his way to his crew, while Quentin Kent Neil Heckens actually is on the backstretch. So I don't think Quentin's going to be able to get out there fast enough, because Neil is going to be very close. Is he going to hit Sunset Bend? Now he's hitting the braking zone for Sunset Bend. We're looking at Quentin Kent once again. Back to Neil Heckens. Where are they going to come out? Heckens now coming onto the main straight. Is Quentin going to be able to get moving? He's going to need that momentum. Now Quentin is starting to move. Neil Heckens coming down the front stretch. It's going to be very close. Quentin is starting to get to that pit exit. Where is Neil? They're coming out side by side, and it looks like momentum is on the side of Neil as he takes back the position. But now Quentin has made up a bunch of time. He is not 2 seconds back anymore. The game is on, Brian.
Very good strategy from Quentin Kent. He just made up at least a couple seconds there. So good job on his part, as Neil Heckens will now have to run for his life to get through these last 10 laps.
And you have to wonder, did Quentin take enough fuel with him having that much shorter of a stop than Neil Heckens, or was that down to pace on track? We'll have to keep an eye. We're now on lap 39, so we're getting down to the final 10 laps very soon here. And Quentin Kent is going to have to hope that he put in enough fuel to make it to the end here.
If I was Quentin Kent in this situation, I probably would have gone without taking tires. There's only 10 laps left in the race. I would have gone for it, taken the gamble, and stayed with the already hot tires and just take a splash of fuel. But right now, if Neil Heckens did take a full stop, it's going to be pretty much equal terms. They're going to be both on semi-cold tires coming through these last couple of laps. It's really going to come down to who is going to have the better race throughout the traffic on these last couple of laps.
And as we watch these two, you can see that the gap has started to grow as we don't even see Neil Heckens in the screen. There, you can now see him just far ahead. So Neil has started to pull the gap ahead of him. I guess Quentin needed to get his tires back up to temperature, as now maybe he didn't make up as much time as we thought. We'll see what it is this time by the line as they come to complete their 39th lap in this 50-lap race.
And Joe, while we're talking about making up time, it looks like for pit stops, Quentin Kent had an 18.5 second pit stop, whereas Neil Heckens had a 19.94. So you may be right. He may have taken just a little bit less fuel, and that will be a gamble he's willing to take to try and take this lead here in the end of the race.
It is 3 seconds, so he actually lost a bit of time. So Quentin Kent has got some work to do, try and run down this leader, Neil Heckens. And as pit stops continue to work their way through, I think things are starting to settle out. The Radicals are leading at 85 points, but it's only 2 points back to Team Bodnar at 83. Now, I'm not sure if any of them are actually racing directly against each other, but if they change positions, then that is going to be a 2-point swing, and it's going to mean a tie. Meanwhile, in third place, tied at 80 points, it's the Racing Lions and Phoenix Motorsports. And Neil Heckens is actually a part of that. So Neil's really got to fight to hold on to that first position so that those guys can continue to stay as high as they are in the points. However, the weak link in each of those, Racing Lions, Koen Gerhardt sitting in 8th in GTC. And in 6th, it's Paulo Martins in GT1 for Phoenix Motorsports. Those are the guys that have the most to make up for their teams.
And guys, let me jump in here and report that you will remember the battle between Pascal Laan and Denny Reitz. Well, Denny got past him quite a little bit of time, and now just in the last lap, Pascal Laan pulled off a move into Sunset, and he is once again leading Denny Reitz. This is the battle for 4th place, I believe, in the GT3 class, and it has been a torrid battle for so many laps. And as they close down to the final laps now, bearing in mind that there's something like only 10 laps to go for the leaders in the GT1 class, these guys have been battling it out, and Denny Rats now has it all to do to try and get back that 4th position once again.
And Denny Rotz is in the Racing Lions team, so that lost position has lost them a third in the championship right now as far as points go. So Denny's got some work to do to try to hold on to Pascal as they work their way around Collier right now at the moment, heading towards Tower Bend. Denny is definitely not letting him get away with it at the moment. He's still very close on the back of that roof car.
That's correct, and the reason why Pascal Laan got the position coming out of Sunset was actually on the Ullman Straight. Denny had a little bobble, and that gave Pascal the run coming down the Ullman Straight heading towards Sunset. So that's how he got the position. At the moment, Pascal must be thinking, well, can I hold on to the end of the race here, because this guy is right on my bumper at the moment. So this is a good battle to be watching as we go into the final laps, but I'm pretty sure there are many other battles happening as well, Joe.
And Denny Rats was trying to get himself a good exit out of Le Mans, and he clipped the inside. I think he made contact with the wall.
He touched the wall, and that has set him back a whole bunch of time, because he touched the wall there. Not much damage done to the car, I don't believe, Joe, but certainly that's lost him time and possibly lost him the position for the race.
We're going to go back and watch the replay of Denny just making that critical error this late in the race on lap 40. And you can see him heading around, just getting close to that apex, and boop, that's all it took. And all that time was lost.
Correct. And now Pascal Laan must be breathing a sigh of relief as he just goes under the bridge with Denny Rat still coming down that section. So that's battle that may well be over, Joe.
Well, just behind them, though, Richard Schuterin and Martin Hilligers were having a battle, and unfortunately now that information is old, unfortunately. So Martin is actually into the pits now, so I apologize. I thought we had a battle going on there, and we do not. Let's hop back up to GT1, see what's going on over there. I noticed that Quentin has started falling back, Brian.
Yeah, I'm
and
not
also,
really
guys,
sure
just before you go and say your bit, the battle for first place in GTC is on, with Jean-Paul Nias right on the back of Paul Ilbrink. So after you've said your piece on the GT1 class, let's get back to this one.
Quentin Kent right now has been slipping back. I'm not really sure what to make of it. There hasn't been too much roof traffic. However, Quentin Kent has been slowly falling off the times. He just ran a 1:55.1, which is almost 7 seconds, or excuse me, 7/10 off of his normal pace. So I think maybe he either took too much fuel or too much or he took fresh tires and they haven't broken in nicely. I did notice Quentin Kent at the end of his stint was running very fast, so maybe his setup isn't really doing too well with a full setup here. Now, it sounds like we have a Stefan Overgaard crash. Let's go, Joe, and investigate what happened there.
Yeah, that was in turn one. We're going to look at the replay right now, and it looks like we need to go just a few more seconds back here. And it looks like that was with Martin Hilligers, actually, between those two. And here you can see Stefan Overgaard coming up to turn one. I think Martin must have gotten loose in front of him, because you don't see him in front of him right now. Now flying into this very fast, very blind left-hander. No, Martin might have been exiting the pits, actually, I think. I think this was just a bad pit exit from Martin, and poor Stefan, I mean, you can't really get that car slowed down that much as you're barreling through that bumpy corner. And he looks like he took a fair amount of damage as he has been running along in the grass to try and stay out of people's way.
Martin Hilligers gets another black flag for another for avoidable contact, once again leaving pit road, so not a good turn of events for poor Martin.
That just goes to show you have to be aware on every inch of this track. We're now on board with Stefan. You can see he's just, no, we're on the replay still. I'm sorry, as he runs off track to stay out of everybody else's way. That's good, fair racing from Stefan to know that his damaged car has no point in trying to endanger everybody else's races. But, oh man, that's going to hurt for the Radicals. who were sitting in first, but they were only 3 points ahead. If Stefan slips back, this is going to give it to Team Bodnar.
Well, guys, let us now have a look at the battle between Blake Townend and Jean-Paul Niehaus. They're exiting turn 1 at this point in time. They are nose to tail, Joe. The battle is on. The laps winding right down.
And ooh, big slide. Yeah, big slide from Jean-Paul Niehaus. I'm amazed that he kept that car together.
Yes, but he is battling for first position. It's throw all the marbles into the ring time now, Joe.
Absolutely. This is where it all counts right now. These guys are on lap 40. However, what matters is what our leaders are on, which is lap 43. So these guys essentially only have 7 laps left to try and make this happen. And Blake Townend is doing everything he can, and that black, red and white car to hold back the white car of Jean-Paul Niehaus.
Yeah, Joe. Whoa, they nearly touched there. Jean-Paul Niehaus is throwing everything he's got at Blake Townend. He goes to the inside, he goes to the outside. He's trying to get that lead now. And I tell you what, this is Blake Townend is battling for his life to stay ahead of Jean-Paul Niehaus right now.
Yeah, impressive that those guys managed to stay out of each other. Jean-Paul Niehaus obviously much better under braking as now he closes in under Le Mans, they're not quite in Le Mans yet. They're in those S's right before Le Mans. He is very close. Look at that, less than a car length back as we watch from the back of Blake Townend. This is going to be critical if he can just get a good enough exit heading down the Ullman Straight. He's going to have the draft. Is he going to be able to pull him in time? I don't know if it's going to be enough. He might have to look for an over-under coming out of Sunset Bend.
Yes, but Blake Townend is very good through Sunset. As you see the cars moving around a lot due to the bumps there, and he hasn't got enough to challenge. He goes now to the inside as we see a GT1 car passing as well. Now he gets back into line again. It's a very fierce battle going on right here.
Watching on board the nose of Jean-Paul Niehaus as he closes up to the back bumper of Blake Townend. As he looks to the inside coming towards turn 3, is he going to try and... Nope, he decides to back out of it. He knows he's got a few more laps, and he knows that the incident points are going to count here. He doesn't want another incident where he gets into back of Townend. He is very close to that back bumper now, and now he's going to get an even better chance as they head towards the hairpin, which is really one of the heaviest braking zones on this course.
Correct, and you see there Blake Townend going defensive and actually went a little wide there to make sure he can get the best radius into the corner. He does that, he manages to stay ahead. I think Blake Townend has got him covered, but certainly Jean-Paul Niehaus is a great driver, and he is going to throw everything at Blake to take that position away from him. As we see the wheels go up in Blake Townend. Now, Joe, they're right on each other right now. This is good. Oh man, he goes to the inside, tries to grab the position, doesn't make it happen right there, but now they are going through that section there, the twisty section before Ullman Straight, so this is his possible chance, Joe.
Yeah, I really think that Niehaus just overdrove it through Tower there, but now he really closes up through the S's. Now is going to be another really good opportunity. Really has to get that exit. He does this time. He's got a much better exit, and he has the draft, and it looks like Townend is going to make him go the long way around as they drag race down towards Sunset Bend. Who is it going to be? It's going to be side-by-side for the lead of the GT C-Class, now heading into the braking zone, going around this fast corner, and Niehaus just isn't able to hold on as he's going to try the over-under, and it looks like Townend parks it on the apex, masterfully keeps him back, keeps the momentum down, but it's still, they're going to go side by side down the front stretch heading towards turn 1. Who's it going to be into the braking? This time Niehaus has the inside around this bumpy left-hand corner, and it looks like he's got the job done, or does he? Townend comes back at him. It's not over yet. They're still side by side heading into turn 3. Townend has the inside this time. Now trying to outbrake him. He takes the first place back. Townend is not giving up, and what a battle these two have got going on.
Fantastic racing right here. on the GSRC live broadcast. I want to tell you, these two guys are both racing for their lives, and they are doing a great job because there were so many opportunities or situations where they could have got into each other, but they've, as we see a little bobble from Jean-Paul Niels, that's lost him a bit of time there, Joe. This could be what Blake Townend has been waiting for, just to get a few more car lengths ahead, which he has now. If he can just stay ahead, he's going to win this race. But Jean-Paul Niels has got to come back at him, and he will have an opportunity coming down the Ullman Straight once again to close up under draft. But Blake Townend has got a little break just there, and he must be breathing a sigh of relief right now.
Guys,
Yeah.
I need you to jump in real quick. Quentin Kent had a miraculous lap his last time by, and he has closed the gap for the Corvettes down to 1 second. Last check was at 9/10, and he is now sucking up Neil Heckens once again, just like early at the beginning of the race. Right now, as we see Neil Heckens try to go around that rough, as Quentin Kent is just trying to get past him and try to get that good inside line. He's not going to get it. He's going to make it past that rough, but man, he closed that gap up in less than a lap and a half, and now Quentin is driving his head off as he is trying to catch up with the race leader.
Well, with that other battles being a bit neutered by the mistake of Niehaus, let's hold on this just a little while, see if Quentin can make it up. But while we watch, as we follow on board with Quentin around this track, the important thing about Townend and Niehaus is on Team Bodnar, who is currently leading by 2 points ahead of the Radicals in second at 82 points. So those guys are in a direct fight. If they swap positions, it's going to be a tie between them for first place in the points.
Meanwhile, guys, let me tell you that the battle is not over in the GT3 class. Maxim Remstein is leading that class, but Paul Ilbrink is now throwing everything he's got at him. The gap has got to be quite small as we see a slower car just get in between. That could be a significant move if that car slows Paul Ilbrink down. But there's a battle in virtually all three classes happening as we come to the closing laps of this race.
Our attention is definitely going to be very divided, but one of the close battles that we've got going on is Bob Van Katwijk and Eagle Sandfeld. Sandfeld trying to make his way back up for the Radicals, or I'm sorry, not for the Radicals. Sandfeld, we'll have to check which team he is on. I can't remember off the top of my head, but now Eagle Sandfeld is making the move into Sunset Bend, cleanly outbreaks Bob Van Katwijk, and gives himself just one more point for his team, and he is actually racing for team IRDK is Eagle Sandfeld, who is sitting in 8th at the moment. But boy, what a drive for Eagle after blowing his engine earlier on and working his way back up into 3rd.
Yeah, Eagle Sandfeld at the beginning of the race was checking out. He's a very fast driver, and he is just trying to get every point he can. Now, remember, while all of these points are cumulative, it also comes down to how many incident points you have. So hopefully Eagle's incident there won't hurt his team too much, as he has been driving his head off as well and having a very clean race in the process.
And let's jump back up to our GT1 leaders. Quentin Kent was very close. In fact, yes, he's only 3 or 4 car lengths back from Neil Heckens at this point. I would think that this thing is within half a second between them.
Yeah, and every lap around he's been just a little bit faster, so I'm thinking maybe he got stuck in traffic, or maybe Neil Heckens caught some traffic, and either way, no matter how you split the cake there, Quentin has closed up that time, and he's using that draft to his advantage as they go into Sunset Bend. It looks like Quentin got a little bit of a bad line there, but he's going to try and take a later apex and get a run out that way. So right now, Quentin looking very hungry for that lead.
And just an update, right as we left Eagle, he had a spin and gave that spot right back up. So that's going to hurt him not only in incident points, but in points for positions lost. Meanwhile, we're still on board with Quentin Kent. You can see that black and white Corvette just in front of us. And now he goes off. And Neil Heckens is at a disadvantage. He takes a defensive line into 3. Is Quentin going to be able to get him there into a very technical portion of this track? There is no one else near them to worry about battling at this point, and that was a lost opportunity for Quentin, as Neil had a huge moment out of turn 1.
Unfortunately, with the way the track's laid out, it's not really the best move to try and pass on the outside there, because you never know if Neil's going to come sliding across the track and take him out. So unfortunately, Quentin had to bad down just a little bit, but he's been very good in this second half of the track coming out of the hairpin section. So I think he does have what it takes here to come back and try and make up a clean pass, so he doesn't have to worry about being taken out by a spinning car. Oh, and a big bobble.
And he's off. He's off. Neil Heckens was off the track, and this is going to give the lead to Quentin Kent.
Quentin Kent just saw that door open wide up. I don't know what happened to Neil Heckens, if he got scared by that roof or if he had a late braking incident. Someone will have to go back and look at the replay, but that is a huge game changer. Now Quentin Kent has nobody in front of him to slow him down. He might come home with the win today.
Let's see if we can get that replay pulled up. It looked like the roof just put him offline and he outbraked himself a little bit and locked up the rears. Now we've got the replay to watch exactly what happened there. And you can see, yeah, just that rear, or I'm sorry, no, that wasn't the incident we were talking about. That was around the hairpin, it looks like. Now they're going to come up as he's got the roof of that, looks like Pascal just ahead of him. And coming into the braking zone of Cunningham, just a little too hot, and there goes the back end. And he's very lucky that he was able to hold it together and not completely loop it around. So damage limitation moment, but that damage was huge in the championship.
Indeed it was, and right now it looks like Quentin's just running away. He has nobody in front of him to slow him down. So while we watch this battle, we should go back to Richard and see how the other battle's going in the roof classes.
Well, guys, I can tell you that both Maxim Remstein, the leader in the GT3 class, is well ahead of Paul Ilbrink. It looks like as the laps run down that he might well win that class. And Blake Townend hanging on from Paul Niehaus, also a second or so ahead. So these battles have kind of petered out. A lot had to do with lap traffic coming in between, or faster cars coming in between, particularly in the GTC class. Paul Ilbrink has not been able to catch Maxim Remstein, and Jean-Paul Niehaus has not been able to catch Blake Townend. So that's an update. Let us hope that we have some more great racing like we've seen here. Just fantastic stuff in the roof classes.
Well, unfortunately, it looks like all three battles have started to work themselves out, and it's going to be all over very soon because Quentin Kent, leading the GT1 class, is on lap 49. He's going to take the white flag next time by. Neil Heckens actually had a slowdown penalty somewhere along the line we're hearing, and he is well back from Quentin Kent. So it looks like these guys, unless someone makes a mistake, a big mistake, that it's all done bar the shouting, as you would say, Richard.
Yeah, quite true. And in the team championships, Team Bodnar leading by 1 point at this point in time. That may not change if the positions don't change at all.
Well, it's got to if they want to. Blake Townend and Jean-Paul Niehaus are the ones directly fighting each other, and it could change, actually. It is still on, as Niehaus is right on the back of Townend. This is for the championship, and Townend goes wide. Niehaus is on the inside coming through one. He's got a good exit. He's going to have the inside for turn 3. If he can hold on to this position, they get very close under braking. They just about make contact, very light contact, but Niehaus was able to get the job done, and now Townend is down a position. This should change the championship position.
Unbelievable stuff, Joe. Unbelievable. Townend was well ahead. He must have made a mistake, and that gave Jean-Paul Niehaus the opportunity, as we see a GT1 car going through. That gives Townend an opportunity to come up again on the back of Niehaus. Niehaus now barely in front of him. This is for the first position, Joe, in the GTC class.
Absolutely, and when that GT1 car gets close to the checkered flag, please break in, Brian, and let us know. Meanwhile, we're watching this battle between Townend and Niehaus, which is going on the whole race as Niehaus goes wide this time, and Townend makes his way past. It's mistakes everywhere. Everybody is just slipping and sliding. These tires must be shot on these cars, as Townend now tries to hold off his rival in that white roof, and he slides just a little bit with a bobble, putting Niehaus at a disadvantage. And who is that next to him? That's Denny Rotz in a different class, working their way past, trying to get in the middle of this battle as Rotz goes around the outside and puts some space between the leaders.
Joe, we're coming on the back stretch right now with Quentin Kent, as he is going to come through turn 17 and 18 to take the win. Now let's keep in mind, Quentin Kent started out the race in 3rd place. You got stuck behind some other drivers, but they both had problems with Eagle Sand Field blowing an engine with a spinning roof, and the other driver, Neil Heckens, spinning off the track, or excuse me, sliding off the track due to a roof that put him off his line. Quentin survived the race, 50 laps at Sebring in the night, and he will be our overall race winner for now in the unofficial standings. Joe?
Meanwhile, Blake Townend was able to hold off his rival Jean-Paul Niehaus to take the win in the GTC class. Where are our GT3 cars, though?
Well, Maxim Ramstein and Paul Ilbrink battled it out right to the end, but it seems to me that Maxim Ramstein got the better of Paul Ilbrink and will win the GT3 class.
Well, it ain't over till it's over. As we've seen, the fighting can still happen if someone makes a mistake, namely Maxim. He's got a few more corners left to go to try and keep this thing clean. In fact, he's got one more corner now as he heads down the backstretch. Paul Ilbrink is a ways back, so Maxim has to have a spin for something to allow Paul Ilbrink up into the next position. There is only 1 point separating Team Bodnar and the Radicals right now, besides the penalty points, so it could still be not as close as we thought. We're not entirely sure, but right now all we can see is 1 point difference. Maxim Ramstein does not make a mistake. He takes the win in the GT3 class and weaves in celebration as actually not unfortunately, Team Bodnar are currently sitting in first in the points, but we will get the official standings for you as this is not the final positions, with Team Bodnar currently looking like they've won, with Radicals in second and Phoenix Motorsports sitting in third. We are going to take a short break. We're going to try and get our winners here of each class in for interviews, and we will get you the official results. Welcome back to Sebring International Raceway, where we just witnessed the Gathering of Tweakers Sebring 185. A fantastic race, a team championship, but a very unique race in terms of races that we broadcast here, and it was an exciting one. In the end, in the GT1 class, the Corvettes, Quentin Kent came home with the win. Neil Heckens led most of the way and was not able to seal the deal, coming home in second. Bob Van Katwijk, meanwhile, completed the podium in this first class. Then in the second class, the GT3 class, Maxim Ramstein came home with the win. Paul Ilbrink finished in second, and Paulo Martins came home third. Then in GT3, it was a battle all the way to the final lap, but in the end, Blake Townend came home first, beating out Jean-Paul Niehaus by a scant less than a second, I believe. And then Dennis Garrison, who we didn't talk a lot about, came home in third. Meanwhile, we have the championship, which is the important thing, the team championship. Each of these drivers, remember, had a driver in one class, or one in each class, rather. And Team Bodnar was the winner with 80 points. Dirk Turlings came in sixth in his class. Maxim Ramstein won in his, and Jean-Paul Niehaus second in his. Phoenix Motorsports came in second at 79 points. A mere 1 point separated the two. Andre Martins was in fifth, Paulo Martins in third, and Joris Talon in fourth. And then in third, we have the Radicals at 77 points with Stefan Oergaard, Paul Ilbrink, and Blake Townend on that team. Then in fourth, it was the Racing Lions at 74 points, Team BRM at 71. The Daltons came in sixth at 70. Imperfect Eyesights came in seventh. Then in eighth, it's Team iRacing Denmark. Then in ninth, it's Team Up. 10th was Rusty Racers, 11th was Team Brickyard, 12th was Blondie Racing, 13th was Leone Corsi, and in 14th it was Team Muppet. Leone Corsa, excuse me, mispronounced that. We do have some interviews to talk about, and first up we are going to have Stefan Oergaard with Brian, if Brian would like to ask him a few questions.
Hey, Stefan Oergaard, how do you hear me?
I hear you fine.
All right, Stefan. Well, overall, you came in seventh in class, and tell us a little bit about the race today. How was Sebring at night with all this crazy traffic?
Well, it was a very exciting race. I had some good battles all along the first part with Bob Van Katwijk, and then I had an unfortunate crash at the pit exit.
Yeah, I mean, you had a crazy weekend this weekend. You did the EPS race over at Mosport, then you did the Indy Brands Hatch layout over at MX5, and now you did another long race today. You must be mentally drained after driving around here at Sebring in the dark for so long.
Yeah, it's okay today. It's only one race, two yesterday.
Well, I mean, Stefan, I apologize. I wish we had more time for questions, but we have a lot in the pipeline, as you can see down in the interview room. I hope you enjoyed the race and that we'll see you in the future. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
We'll see if we can get things sorted out here. But we do have some other interviews to do, one of which is we have our winner in the GT3 class, or I'm sorry, GTC class, and that is Blake Townend. We're going to pull Blake in, and I believe Richard is going to talk to him.
Yes, Blake Townend, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Blake, a fantastic race and a fantastic battle that you had there with Jean-Paul Niehaus. Tell us how those final laps were for you.
Bloody intense. And my tyres went off as well, so I was fighting grip throughout, towards the end of the race, and then there was heavy traffic, and on the last lap I outbraked myself in turn one, and Jan Paul managed to get on the inside, and then there was an eager Corvette driver approaching the hairpin. He got between us, and he kind of dive bombed Jan, and that gave Jan a bad exit. And when it came to the next corner, Jan ran wide, and I was able to go around the outside and pass just on the last lap. But, if there was more laps, Jan certainly would have gone by. It was a pretty intense race.
Yeah, certainly was intense. That is one description we can use. There are many other words we can use. Great racing from both you guys. We congratulate you on the first place in the GTC class. That was no mean feat, let me tell you. We watched the whole race long, and congratulations once again. We will let you go because we have a lot to get through. So thank you for giving us a wonderful race to call, Blake.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Back to you, Joe.
Next up, we have our winner in the GT3 class, and that is Maxim Ramstein. Maxim, it was a little bit hotter earlier on in the race, and then you finally got some breathing space towards the end. What was it like from your point of view for nearly 50 laps in the dark around here?
Well, I can tell you that I'm sweating, that's for sure. It's really difficult in the dark, you can barely see a thing, and with Paul right on my tail pretty much the whole race, I'm pretty exhausted.
Now, were you aware of the championship standings during the race? Did you have a window open, or were you just pushing as hard as you could the whole way, regardless of what the points were?
No, I was just trying to win. Like, yeah, you cannot change what the others are doing, so I just thought about my own race, and turns out in the end that we won, so I'm very glad with that. Great team result.
Fantastic stuff. And what was traffic like out there with the three classes? Because they seemed fairly close, and it was quite hectic. At least it looked like it from up here.
Well, I would like to compliment all the guys because I thought the traffic was going to be a mess, but from my point of view, everybody was very professional and patient, and I really enjoyed driving here. It was not so hectic as I expected it.
Well, you did a fantastic job out there, and congratulations on your win. Thank you for coming and talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Next up, we have Quentin Kent, who won in the GT1 class, and it was quite a fight. Quentin, as you exited on that second pit stop and you saw Neil just ahead of you, what were you thinking? We might have some possible issues here with Quentin. We're not sure if he is currently available. Quentin, can you hear us? Oh, and unfortunately, Quentin does not have a mic. We apologize, unfortunately. So we do have one more person to talk to, and that is Eagle Sandfeld. And we're going to pull Eagle in since he was in the GT1 class. Eagle, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi, guys.
Well, Eagle, you started in second, and then you had some trouble with that spun car in Sunset. What was it like trying to come back up through the field? Did you think you could get back as high as third? Because you held it for a while, and then it looked like mistakes kind of put you back down.
Yeah, it was kind of a roller coaster ride today. In the start, it all went very fine, and then unfortunately, my teammate Jacob was stuck on turn 17, and I just lost traction and went straight into the wall. And after that, it was just kind of both downhill but also uphill for me because I was genuinely quick. I had a good pace, but I just made some mistakes, probably due to some hangovers, but yeah, gotta work on that.
I guess a little too much partying this weekend, possibly.
Yeah.
So if they do this again, are you looking to team up with the same team? Are you pretty proud of your teammates and how they performed today?
Yeah, definitely. I've been racing with two guys, and they haven't raced that much with this format before, so I really enjoy trying to help out any way possible to teach some of the not so quick guys maybe to be more consistent and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely a fun thing to do.
Well, commiserations on being just shy of the podium, but thanks for coming and talking to us.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And I would just say that the traffic today has been really awesome. Great racing.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we need to wrap up, but I think we might have time for one more interview because it sounds like we might want to do one more. I'm checking with our director to see if we have time for this. Looks like we have time for one more. So Richard Losper is going to talk to Paul Ilbrink.
Thank you, Joe. And we do have Paul in the booth with us now. Paul, can you hear me?
Yes, okay.
Paul, a very intense race you had there with Maxim Remstein. You had your chances. You did take the lead from him a couple of times, but in the end, you just didn't have enough to win the race in your class. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of practice, and I was a bit worried with my pace, seeing all the other times. But in qualifying, I managed to put together a good lap, and in the race, I could much follow Maxim the whole time, and I got the lead because he made a slight mistake. But a little later, I made a mistake myself, and I was in second again. And I don't think it was possible for me to take the win, although I was pretty close. But Maxim just had an awesome pace, and he was the rightful winner.
Well, we do thank you for giving us that close racing between yourselves at various times during the race. Great racing, Paul. We congratulate you on your second place in class. And we hope to see some more of this stuff because you guys put on a great show for everyone. So thank you once again, and back to you, Joe.
Yes, we want to thank a few people before we take off. Obviously, thanks to the organizers and all the people that put in a lot of hard work, such as Hugh Williamson and Nick Thyssen. Also, we want to thank the software and hardware that we use to make this broadcast possible: iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, and AverMedia. Thanks to the team today, Richard, Giancarlo, Brian. Also, thank you to Kevin, who has acted as a spotter for part of the day today and helped us out. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel. A special thank you goes to Eric Ekholm, who provides us with much of our music. You can find it not only here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. Additional thanks go out to Casey Lalonde, who also provides us with music for our broadcasts. You can find more of his music at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. Our next broadcast is coming up in just a moment. That is the Week 13 SRF Big Grid Race, and that'll be at Watkins Glen. That is, as we said today, April 27th at 9:30 p.m. UTC. Also, later this week, we have the ASRS at Dover. That's Wednesday, April 30th at 6 p.m. Pacific. Also, we have the Green Valley Lake MX5 World Tour at Sebring. That'll be the finale next week, Saturday, May 3rd at 7 p.m. UTC. 3 drivers are up for the championship in that one, so don't miss it. Then it's the Piston Cup on Sunday, May 4th at 6:45 p.m. UTC. That'll take place at Pocono. Then the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series comes back at Lime Rock Park on Saturday, May 17th at 10:30 p.m. UTC. And finally, we have the Northwest Majors running their Indy 500 on Sunday, May 25th at 6 p.m. Pacific. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.